This is the story of the Nashville division of ACF Brill Motors. Originally, American Car and Foundry Company was making railroad cars. In the 20s, they bought the J.G. Brill Company, and the ACF Motors Company was developed. And they also bought the Hall Scott Engine Company. J.G. Brill and ACF Motors was in Philadelphia. In 1944, the war was winding down, and they knew they'd have a lot of orders coming in because all the railroads burned up all their cars during the war. So they decided to combine the J.G. Brill Company and the ACF Motors Company into the ACF Brill Motors Company, with Hall Scott as a subsidiary, a division. At the same time, Consolidated Vultee Aircraft Corporation was building airplanes for World War II, and they knew that their orders were going to cease soon also. So they were looking around for something that they could make with their factories, especially the Nashville factory, big, that was made out of aluminum. And so they bought the ACF Brill Motors Company, and they were going to take their plant in Nashville, and half of it, 500 square feet of the building, was going to be for bus manufacturing. The other part was going to be used for Avco Aviation had a division that was making ranges and freezers, deep freezers. Avco Aviation owned Consolidated Vultee. So they began the process of manufacturing C-44 buses for ACF Brill in this factory. They had originally used the building for making P-38 fighters, and they had special techniques of building airplanes very efficiently, and they were going to use these techniques to make buses. It never been done before. The plant was at Perry Field in Nashville Airport. The engineers took the plane-making jigs and processes and set it all up to make buses. This had never been done before. Workers built 6 sub-assemblies, and then they brought them all together on an assembly line for construction. The 6 sub-assemblies were the floor and frame, the right side, the left side, the front vestibule, the back vestibule, and then the roof with the windows hooked onto it. And with this system, a single shift made 5 buses a day, or they could make 1,300 a year. There used to be custom-built production in the early 1900s. Cars and all parts were made for the individual car that was going to go in. The parts from one vehicle would not fit in another. Even if it was a Cadillac or anybody else, it just wouldn't fit. Then they come up with the idea of standardized production. All the parts were going to be made to be interchangeable. And these people at Nashville were going to take it a step further. They, instead of a part arriving on a frame and be bolted to place, they have to drill a hole. The worker would drill a hole to put it in. All the holes would be drilled ahead of time. This was called the master tooling dock process, and it was supposed to be very efficient. The process was a carryover from the airplane production in World War II. At Nashville, they were also using a geometric mastering technique, and that way you don't need a costly bunch of gauges to keep making sure all the parts are in tolerance. Things are set up to fit from these precise jigs. The workers can do this process once everything is set up without a lot of training. Workers do not have to keep measuring in the act of the tool making. Nashville brought in Leyland A. Bryant and Associates because they hold the patents to this master tooling dock and related master tooling. So they made one section. They made the vestibules. Another section with these jigs, they were making the side walls. They made the roofs to fit on. And then they'd bring it forth together in a bunch and set it up, put it in place, start putting all the parts together. The frames were made so that they could be lifted up, and parts could be bolted on, and you could see what you were doing. It would turn up on its side. They had a special cradle that would lift the motor right up in. It was all done very efficiently. Eventually, they found out that this was not making, it wasn't done profitably. The Lycoming engine division was supposed to make Hall-Scott engines. They weren't doing it in a profitable way. So the Consolidated Vultee decided they wanted to push this off to somebody else. They sold it upstairs to Avco Aviation. They formed a new company that would hold Nashville, it would hold ACF Brill, it would hold Hall-Scott, it would hold Lycoming. It was called the Avco Manufacturing. This was run by Victor Emanuel also. And that got it off of Consolidated Vultee's books. They had new contracts, the B-36, because the Russians were a threat, so they had plenty of work to do without this. And all the excitement about the new manufacturing process was a problem. It was outweighed by the problems of the profitability. And there were also a bunch of bus cancelizations by companies who wanted buses originally. After World War II, there was a GI Bill, and people could buy houses very easily. And the houses had to be built in the suburbs. There was no land in the city, so you had to have a car. So everybody started buying cars, and the bus demand fell. So the combinations of a lack of profitability plus a lack of demand caused problems for this Nashville division. The people at ACF Brill soldiered on until 1948. The owner of Avco Aviation hired Charles Pirelli. He was loose from Garwood Industries, and he was assigned to Philadelphia to try to straighten this all out. The Nashville division was closed up. Lycoming shifted back to their airplane engines, was no longer part of Brill's, and Charles Pirelli went to work trying to get ACF Brill profitable, and another story I have on here talks about that.